this video, I am going to discuss Chapter 8, How Do Organisms Reproduce, from Class 10 Science. Science is all about observation, experimentation, and questioning. The name of the chapter itself is a question: how do organisms reproduce? According to the NCERT, reproduction is not an essential life process like nutrition, respiration, excretion, etc., etc. Without nutrition, excretion, nervous coordination, hormonal secretion, an organism may die. But without producing babies, an organism cannot die. But still, it is an important life process. What is the reason? When an organism reproduces, it produces multiple identical copies of itself. When we see a large number of ants, we recognize that yes, this species exists. We see a large number of copies of dogs. We see a large number of, say, zebras. When we see a large number of members of a particular species, we recognize that yes, this species exists. That is the importance of reproduction. Reproduction results in producing similar copies of the species. Now, another question is there. The question is, do organisms create exact copies of themselves? Do organisms create exact copies of themselves by reproduction? Or some variation exists between the members of the species? Organisms produce similar copies of itself by reproduction. The members of a species have similar body designs. Similar body designs are produced only because they follow the same blueprint. What is blueprint? Blueprint is a plan according to which a building, etc., is constructed. Suppose 10 buildings are constructed according to a single blueprint, the 10 buildings will be similar. In case of organisms also, there is some blueprint according to which the body design of the organisms is formed. Where is that blueprint located? That blueprint lies in the DNA. What is DNA? DNA is a molecule, a long chain molecule that is located in the cell. A single cell organism is made, or unicellular organism is made up of single cell, and a multicellular organism is made up of multiple cells. Inside the cell, there is an important organelle called nucleus. Inside the nucleus, DNA is located. DNA along with protein form chromosomes. DNA folds with the help of proteins, histone and non-histone proteins, and form chromosome. The number of chromosomes in the cells of an organism, of a species, is fixed. For human beings, the number of chromosomes is 46. All human beings on earth has 46 number of chromosomes in their body cells. All human beings. All cells of my body has 46 chromosomes. Okay. Except gametes, that we will discuss later. So, the blueprint lies in the DNA. DNA has the formula according to which protein is secreted in the body, and the protein is the building block of our body. Somebody's hair is black in color. This is because DNA or chromosome contains formula for black hair. Somebody's hair is straight. Somebody's hair is curly. Somebody's eye color is black, brown, green. So this is all because of the formula for protein formation exists in the DNA. So the blueprint of the body design of the organism lies in the DNA, and through reproduction the DNA is transferred. A copy of the DNA is transferred to the next generation along with the cell structure. And another question is there, do organisms create exact copies? We have to understand that there are three types of reproduction: vegetative, asexual and sexual reproduction. In vegetative and asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved. In vegetative reproduction, a part of the body of the parent is detached and the new offspring grows from that detached part. It contains the cells. The detached part contains fewer cells from the parent, and now the cells multiply and a new body is formed. In vegetative reproduction, there is not much difference between the parent and the offspring. Same in the case of asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved. But in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. For example, the body of human beings or most sexually reproducing organisms starts from a single cell called zygote. Zygote is formed by the fusion of male and female gametes. Sperm is the male gamete in case of human beings, and female or gamete is ovum. Zygote is formed by fertilization, that is fusion of male and female gametes. So zygote contains 50% of the chromosome from the father and 50% from the mother. So zygote has chromosomes from two different members of the species, and so zygote is a little bit different from the parent, and this zygote grows up. It divides, the cell of the zygote divides and it grows up into a baby, and then the baby grows up into an adult. But the life of the organism, sexually reproducing organism, begins from a single cell called zygote that has 50% of DNA from the mother and 50% from the father. So there is more variation in sexual reproduction. What is importance of variation? Like in vegetative and asexual reproduction, the variation is very less. The offspring is more similar to the parent, but in sexual reproduction, the variation is much more. What is the importance of this variation? It is clearly written. The population of organisms live in well-defined niches in the ecosystem. The consistency of DNA copying during reproduction is important for the maintenance of body design. Because of the DNA is similar, blueprint. Okay, if organisms are identical, okay, the body designs will be similar. This gives a stability to the population of the species. But some problems may occur in the ecosystem, like temperature on earth can go up and down, water levels can vary, meteorites can hit. If a population of reproducing organisms were suited to a particular niche, and if the niche were drastically altered, the population could wipe out. But if some variations are present in the individuals, there would be some chance for them to survive. An example is also given in the NCERT book. Like if there were a population of bacteria living in temperate waters, and if the water temperature were to be increased by global warming, most of the bacteria would die, but the few variants resistant to heat could survive and grow further. Thus, variation is thus useful for the survival of species over time. Like for environment, example can be related to human beings. Due to environment pollution, cancer is very common nowadays. There is variation in the human population. Some population is resistant to cancer or some population, for example, COVID. Some population resistant to COVID, some members of the population are resistant to COVID, and some members of the population are not resistant to COVID. Those members who are not resistant to COVID, they are likely to die, and those members who are resistant to COVID are likely to live. Same in the case of cancer. So variation is very important. Variation is useful for the survival of species over time. If the entire population is similar, all are not resistant to or susceptible to COVID, the entire population will be wiped out. So variation is thus useful for survival of species over time. Now, two questions are there. What is the importance of DNA copying in reproduction? The answer is given in the variation part. Population of organisms fill well-defined space, so niches. The constitution of DNA copying during reproduction is important for maintenance of body design features that allow organisms to use that particular niche. Reproduction is therefore linked to the stability of the population. This is the answer. Why is variation beneficial to the species but not necessarily for the individual? Variation is not essential for the individual because due to variations, it becomes different from the other members, and due to some unuseful variations, the species may find it difficult to survive. But variation is useful when the niche in which the organism or the population survive is drastically altered. Variants may survive. Okay, the example of the bacteria, etc., can be given in this. So first and second question is discussed. Next, we will discuss the reproduction, asexual reproduction. We will discuss in the next video. The first video is already very long.